On January 3, 2026, the U.S. launched a surprise military strike over Venezuela's oil fields. Elite forces swooped into the presidential palace, capturing Venezuela's leader. The world watched in shock as Maduro was taken into U.S. custody. Venezuelan oil tankers were immediately blocked and seized at sea. China's long-term oil supply deals with Venezuela were thrown into chaos. The U.S. and China faced off over control of crude resources. Oil pipelines across Venezuela were cut or rerouted in confusion. Global charts lit up with record oil price volatility. Tanker routes once headed to Asia now sat stalled near Caribbean ports. Chinese oil company offices in Beijing reacted with panic. Venezuela's refineries struggled to operate amid the turmoil. U.S. refineries celebrated as seized oil was redirected. Crude oil prices surged as markets scrambled for alternatives. Chinese energy planners watched nervously as shipments declined. World leaders gathered to debate what came next at the UN. China and Russia exchanged urgent counterstrategies behind closed doors. The global oil supply map trembled under new tension. News outlets flashed dramatic headlines around the globe. Latin America's stability was suddenly in question. Economists scrambled to interpret crashing and spiking price signals. Protesters took to the streets, decrying foreign intervention. China publicly condemned the strike as illegal and dangerous. Oil futures skyrocketed like rockets on financial screens. China's radar systems failed to anticipate the scale of the attack. Venezuela's map lit up with oil derricks and uncertainty markers. Satellites monitored stranded oil tankers stuck at sea. A symbolic oil spill scene drew global attention to the crisis. The entire Latin America region appeared on red alert. International markets reacted with mixed green and red arrows. U.S. energy companies basked in sudden new access to resources. Venezuela's interim leadership attempted diplomatic recovery. Petrodollars shifted direction, flowing into U.S. accounts. Oil derricks stood guarded but silent in disrupted zones. Businessmen around the world reacted to oil price news in shock. A global map lit up with alerts tied to energy disruption. Chinese economic planners met in emergency sessions. Trade routes previously supplying China now shifted westward. A tug-of-war played out over the battle for oil dominance. Stock exchange floors lit up with oil tickers and flashing lights. Venezuelan crude was locked away from previous buyers. In Washington, lawmakers debated energy strategy and security. China's president frowned at broken pipeline links on screens. Diplomats waved peace flags in frantic negotiations. New pipelines were built swiftly to reroute oil to U.S. ports. Tiny trucks and barrels carried crude toward U.S. refineries. Currency exchange booths reflected tension between dollars and yuan. Hidden tankers waited in deeper waters beyond the blockade. Energy conferences turned into crisis response summit rooms. Latin American presidents convened to discuss the new reality. The U.S. flag rose over previously Venezuelan oil installation sites. Global headlines flashed oil war across tiny news tickers. Asia's oil map shrank as China lost easy access to Venezuelan crude. Emergency sessions debated international law and intervention. Surveillance drones hovered over critical tanker routes. Protests in Brazil echoed opposition to foreign military action. Venezuela's economy spun out of control amid political uncertainty. Economists debated worst and best-case future oil scenarios. Traders nervously watched crude markets swing dramatically. Black gold, oil, became divided and contested around the world. The U.S. and China engaged in a geopolitical tug-of-war over energy. World Bank markets felt the tremors of the energy disruption. Global economic maps lit up with stress lines in key regions. Some Latin American investors cheered hopeful recovery plans. Unexpected gold coins rained down on markets tied to new deals. Futures markets shot upward like tiny rockets tracking oil demand. Trade sanctions icons popped up blocking old oil trade lanes. U.S. and China flags burned through ribbons tied to the cut crude. United Nations condemnation flags appeared over the diplomatic stage. Traders watched clocks tick with anxiety as prices jumped. Oil price bar charts sprang upward like springs, signaling market shock.